In this video, we are going to make some advanced sliders and carousels and make them more powerful by connecting them with various other Gutenberg blocks. So this is how our normal slider looks like. We have this image in the background and text here. Along with that, if we move on to the next slide, we have this call to action button and this video playing here. But we will make this slider more powerful by adding our custom controls to it so that we can use these kind of icons to do the navigation of this slider. And we will also cover how we can connect this slider to another Gutenberg blocks like these tabs. So these tabs will now control our main slider. And not just sliders, we will also cover how we can connect our plus add-ons Gutenberg blocks like Testimonial Slider. So for this Testimonial Slider, we will add a control like this, previous or next. And this same can also be controlled by these navigation dots. So if you want to learn how you can take your sliders to the next level with the help of plus add-ons for Gutenberg, then hop in and I'll show you everything step by step. My name is Ankit Sharma from the team Myth. And we publish 2 videos per week on plus add-ons for Gutenberg. So if you want to dive deep in the world of Gutenberg Page Builder, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified whenever we upload our next video. When we talk about the sliders or carousels, there are basically 2 ways to control the motion of our slides. One is by using the navigation dots below our slider, and second is by using the next and previous arrow buttons. And that's how almost all the sliders work. But in this video, we are going to create some advanced sliders and then we will use some external widgets to control the motion of the slides. So here we are in our WordPress backend, and in our plugin section, we have the plus add-ons for block editor free as well as the pro version. And once you install the plugin, you will get a new option here in the backend, the plus settings. So once we click on that, it will take us to the dashboard of plus add-ons for Gutenberg. And here, in order to create our advanced slider, we need to activate few Gutenberg blocks. So we go in the plus blocks. And here we will search for remote. So this is the carousel remote Gutenberg block, which is part of the pro plan of plus add-ons for Gutenberg. So make sure you have the pro version of this plugin. And once we turn on this Gutenberg block, let's go ahead and click on save. And after that, we will search for carousel anything Gutenberg block and we will turn that on. And once again, we will click on save. We will search for testimonial block and then turn that on, and once again click on save. So let's first take a look at this simple slider. So if we go in the edit page, and here we have added our carousel anything block. And if you want to learn more about how to use and create carousels using this carousel anything block, then you can check the video in the I button above where we have covered everything about carousel anything. And after adding this block here, under the slide section, we have 3 different slides and each one of them is loading the block template. Like this one, we are using ecom gallery reusable block for slide number 1. And similarly, in the next 2 slides, we are using some other reusable Gutenberg blocks. And if we go in the list of our reusable blocks, this is the ecom gallery 1, 2 and 3, which we are using in this simple slider demo page. So if we open this ecom gallery 1, so in this reusable block, we have just added an image in the background. And here in the left hand side, we have added some text. And in the same way, for the ecom gallery 3 reusable block, we have added this video here in the background of this column. And here we have some image and a call to action button. And now once we add this in our carousel anything slider, here in the front end, it looks something like this. So here we have these arrow keys to control our slider, or we can use these dots at the bottom. But now let's take this slider to the next level and see how we can control this using these remote switches like this, or maybe something like using these tabs at the bottom. So let me show you how we have created this slider step by step. So the first step is to create our reusable blocks. So in this example, we are going to use these 3 reusable blocks that we have already created. And then we will go ahead and add a new page, and let's name it remote slider. And here in the content area, we will add carousel anything block. And once again, under the content slide option, we will first name it slide 1. And we are going to use ecom gallery 1 reusable block to create our slide number 1. And now let's go ahead and duplicate this twice so that we can create 3 slides. And then we will rename this to slide 2. And for the block template, we will choose ecom gallery 2 for slide 2. And next we will rename this to slide 3 and choose the block template ecom gallery 3 here. And once we add our slides, below this we have an option, it says connections, and here it's asking us a unique carousel ID. So here we can give an ID, something like remote slider 1 or something that you can easily remember. After that we have extra options, so we are going to leave all this as it is, and let's go in style tab. Here we will have this dots option by which we can navigate our slider. So let's go ahead and turn that off, because we are not going to control this slider with normal dots and arrows. We are going to use an external widget to control this navigation of slides. So in the next option, arrows, we are also not going to use that. And if we move in the extra options, we will also turn off autoplay, and we will leave draggable as it is. So that will be good for mobile users. And now let's publish this page and open this in front end. So this is our normal slider. Right now we don't have dots and arrows to do the navigation, but we can test this by dragging the slides. So this is how our slider looks like. Now, in order to add some external controls to this slider, we need to add a new block above this. So we will choose insert before, and here we will search for remote. So this is TP carousel remote block that we need to add. Let's click here, and by default it loads the previous next option. And if we go in the block settings here, the first tab is layout, and the first thing we see is connection. So this remote block always requires a unique carousel ID as a connection so that it can be used as a navigator for the main slider. So here we will type in our remote slider 1 ID, which we have given to this slider below this. And below this we have previous next button settings. So here we can choose the style of this previous next button, but we are not going to use this one. So let's turn it off. Below this we have dots option. So let's turn dots on. So now you see we have default these 2 icons as dot, and if we come back in the settings here on the right hand side panel, we see that we have 2 slides here, but we already know that our main carousel slider got 3 slides. So we will be needing 3 slides here in order to make this as a controller for our main slider. So let's go ahead and edit the slide number 1. Here it's using the icon from Font Awesome, but we need to choose image for this example, and here we will insert our image. So let's go ahead and choose this one. So right now it looks very small, so we are going to edit that in a minute. After that we are going to choose the background as transparent, and let's remove the slide 2 and duplicate this twice. So this one we will call slide 2. Let's update the image. And for the third one, we will type in slide 3 and choose this image. We will choose the layout as horizontal. After that, we have border color, so we don't need that in this example. Below that, we have pagination option. So this is the third style of remote control that we can add to navigate through our slides. So if you turn this on, this will add number of pages here. So you can use this as well to navigate through your main carousel slides. So in this example, we will again turn this off. After that, we have layout option. So we will align these in center. And now let's move on to the style tab. Here, as we are only using these dots, so that's why we only see the style for dots. If we click here, we can change the size of our dot. So So maybe we can choose 95 as a size, and you can increase or decrease the space between these dots. Below that we can change the size of icon or image. After that we have margin option and padding. So we will leave all that as it is. So let's go ahead and update this page and let's refresh our front end. So either we can use this draggable option to navigate through our slides, or we can use these icons here. So if we click on this icon, it will take us to the slide number 2, and if we click on first icon, it will take us to the slide number 1. So that's how we can use this carousel remote block and use these dots to navigate through our main slider. Now let's go ahead and connect our slider to a new Gutenberg block and use that as a controller for this slider. So we will come back in our page, and here below our carousel anything block, we will now add tabs. So we will choose tabs tools block from the plus add-ons, and now we have 2 tabs added here. But again, we know that in order to control our main slider, we need at least 3 tabs here. So we will go in the content area of this tab and then add a new one, and let's call it tab 3. For this example, we are going to remove the content from here. And now we will move down to extra options, and here we have connection carousel ID. Here we will type in remote slider 1, and this is the same ID that we have given to our main slider and added that same ID to this carousel remote block as well. So now let's go ahead and update this page and let's refresh our front end. And if we scroll down, here we can see our 3 tabs. So now if I click on tab number 2, it will take me to the slide number 2 of our main slider. And if I click on tab 3, it will navigate through the 3rd slide. So now we can control our main slider by 2 different Gutenberg blocks. Now this remote control or connecting our slider to a different Gutenberg block is not restricted to just carousel anything block. You can implement this remote connection or control to various other Gutenberg blocks from the plus add-ons. Like in this example, here we have our testimonial plus blocks, and we can use our draggable option to drag through these testimonials. We have also added this previous next from carousel remote block. Along with that, we also have these dots, which is again coming from the carousel remote block. So under the same page, we are using the carousel remote block twice and in different style. So let's go ahead and dive in this page and see how it is working. So now we are in our page editor, and here if I go down and search for our testimonial block, this is the TP testimonials that we are using. And if we select this block, here we can choose the style of testimonial that we want to show. And below this, here we can add multiple testimonials to show them as a slider. And as you can see, we have these 3 dots, which is part of this testimonial block to navigate through these multiple testimonials. But in order to create some advanced looking testimonial block, we have created this section. So here we have this complete row, and we have divided that into 2 different columns. And here on the left hand side, we have this normal text. And on the right hand side column, we have our testimonial block. If we open this list view here, now you can get a clear idea how this design is laid out. So under this column, we have our testimonial block. And after this, we have added a new row. And here in the left hand side column, we have our carousel remote block. And on the right hand side column, we again added a carousel remote block. So let's start with the testimonial first. So here we have added 3 different sample testimonials. And if we go in the style, under carousel options, we have only turned on the draggable option. Other than that, we are not showing our native testimonial dots. And we are also not showing these arrows. But in order to navigate through these testimonials, we are using this carousel remote block. If we click here, we have given this a unique ID, that is Testy1. So let's copy this from here. Under previous next button, which is turned on right now, we are using the carousel style remote, and rest of the 3 options are turned off. If we go in the second carousel remote block, here we have given the same Testy1 ID, and previous next button is turned off, but we are using this dot navigation. And here again, we have added 3 different dots because we have added 3 different testimonials. So in order to control them, we need at least 3 sliders or 3 dots. And now, after giving our carousel ID Testy1 to both of these carousel remote block, we can now go ahead and test that in the front end. So here we have our testimonial block. We can drag through the testimonials, and we can also use this previous next option. Along with that, we can also control the same testimonial block using these 3 dots. So here we are controlling this single slider by 2 different carousel remote block because these 2 are connected with the same ID. Now let's see how we can connect this carousel remote block with various other plus add-ons. So let's go ahead and create a new page, and here we will try to connect this carousel remote with our switcher block. So under our plus settings in plus blocks, make sure you turn on this switcher pro block and then click on save. And once we come back in our page editor, here we will start by adding a row, and we will divide that in 2 columns. And let's say we add a heading, and maybe we can type in any text. And after this, we will search for our remote block. And on the right hand side, we will add a switcher block. And if we go on the right hand side panel under layout, we have an option for adding the content for this switcher. So let's say instead of content, we will choose a template for switch 1. And here we will choose SAS1. And this is a reusable block that we have already created in the backend. For the switch 2, we are going to choose template, and we are going to select SAS2. And now we are going to connect our remote block with this switcher block. So if we click here, we need to provide a unique carousel ID. So let's type in switch 1, and here in the button we will select switcher so that we can connect this to our switcher block. And below this, instead of previous next, you can type in any other text. And now if we click on this switcher block at the bottom under connections, and let's paste our switch 1 ID. And now if we publish this page and open this in a new tab, so this is how it looks in the front end. So if we use our carousel remote button here, we can see that our switcher block is working, and we can see a new content here. If we click back, it comes back to the switch 1 and its content. So you can use this kind of remote switch to showcase your product feature or maybe your pricing table. Now let's consider another example where we will connect our carousel remote block to our process steps block. So once again, we will start with a new row. We will divide that in 2 columns, and here on the left hand side, we will search for carousel anything, and below this we are going to add our carousel remote, and on the right hand side we will add our process steps block. And for this carousel anything block, we will add 3 slides. For slide number 1, we will choose template SAS1, and for the slide 2, let's choose template SAS2, and for the slide number 3, we will choose SAS3 reusable block that we have already created. And for this process step block, once again, we need one more step, that will be our step 3. So you can use any content here. So now we will come back in our carousel remote block, and here under unique carousel ID, we will call it steps 1. Let's copy this, And now we are going to add this same ID to our carousel anything and to our process blocks. Let's update this page and let's refresh it in the front end. So here you can see our slider, which we can drag and view the next slide, or we can use our remote switch here, and if we click on next, it will move on to the next slide. And if you notice, it's also changing the highlighting steps here. So if we mouse over on these steps, you can see that our carousel is changing the slides. And it's also changing the highlighted steps when we choose this next previous button. So this is how we can connect our carousel remote switch to a carousel anything block with our process steps block. And now let me show you how you can connect this carousel remote block with our plus accordion block. So instead of this process block, let's go ahead and remove this one and add our accordion block. So let's get rid of this, and now we will add our TP accordion block. And as we have 3 slides in our slider, so we are going to add one more accordion. Let's name it accordion number 3. And now we will give the same ID to this accordion as well. So here under extra options, we will just paste in step 1. And this is the same ID that we have added here in our carousel remote block as well as in our carousel anything block. So now let's click on update and let's refresh it in the front end. And if we scroll through the slides, we can see that our active accordion is also changing. And if we use our next and previous button from our carousel remote, we can see that both of our carousel anything elements as well as content in the accordion is changing. So you can use this carousel remote block to create some amazing looking sliders and page structures. So here on this page, you can see more examples. So here we have used this in order to show a pricing table. After that, we are using the dots to navigate through this carousel. And here we are using this previous next button to scroll through these testimonials. And here we are using these tabs as navigator. Along with that, we are using our previous next carousel remote block. So the possibilities are endless how you want to use this carousel remote block and how you want to connect your sliders to another Gutenberg block to use it as a navigator. So if you like this video, then make sure you hit the like button, and if you want to learn more about such amazing features of Plus add-ons for Gutenberg, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified whenever we upload our next video. So that's it for this one, and I'll see you in the next video.